I still want to leave husband after a good session with a marriage counselor. I and my husband had our first marriage counseling session a week ago, and made a commitment with our counselor that we would give her 12 weeks to sort out our issues. I was happy during the appointment and overall positive and optimistic about it because my husband was actually putting forth an effort to make things work and meeting me halfway on small things that would normally be an argument in our day-to-day lives. A week prior to our appointment we had several explosive arguments about him putting his needs and wants over my needs. When I threatened divorce we ended up agreeing on trialing marriage counseling, and he spent the days leading up to our appointment being extremely helpful, caring and engaged in our relationship. Not long after the appointment my husband reverted back to his usual habits, ignoring me because he's not in the mood to hang out, not helping me around the house, not cleaning up after himself, not helping me with the kids when I need it, etc. Finally, the last straw was he had a guest over and everything was fine at first, but they were drinking and my husband just kept going and going. He ended up getting so drunk that he threw up and couldn't help me the rest of the day. He doesn't drink often, but when he does, he doesn't know when to stop. I've told him I think he has a problem with alcohol because he's irresponsible with it. The reason I was so pissed on this particular day though, was because he promised he would watch the kids after his guest left our house, because I had an important test that counts for 1/4 of my total grade. I'm now behind, my grade is suffering, and I spent the whole day watching the kids and cleaning up after everyone, no time to do my own shit. I blew up and told him if he's going to use one counseling session as an excuse to go back to his usual bullshit then I'm not committing to 12 weeks. He clearly can't commit to me for 12 weeks outside of the counseling sessions, so why should I put in more than my 50% in? Am I overreacting to back out after this? Should I wait and hopefully it gets better with more counseling? I'm honestly starting to think he's truly selfish and doesn't give a shit about how I feel. He says he's sorry, he acts like he's sad about it. But I don't believe him at all. Comment. Use the 12 weeks to get your ducks in a row and contact a divorce lawyer ASAP. He doesn't have to know you are hedging your bets. Marriage counseling isn't just about fixing a marriage, it's also a way to establish the marriage is unfixable. Don't wait for 12 sessions to plan your exit, do it in tandem. You know deep down your husband is controlling and abusive, hence getting drunk to ruin your plans. He may also sabotage your attempts to leave, so keep your mouth shut and play along till you have a clear exit strategy. Also download a copy of Why Does He Do That by Lundy Bancroft and you will probably recognize his patterns of abuse and understand why you need to leave. Go see a divorce attorney. The money saved on not going to the next 11 counseling sessions could be put towards the cost of the divorce. He's actively sabotaging your education. You don't need to give him more chances to treat you that crappily. I actually used my last session as a place to safely tell him I was leaving. Thanked the therapist and walked out of the session as soon as I'd said it, in case he wanted some extra support after, or needed a professional to talk him out of running me over in the parking lot. Spent the night packing. Movers were already booked, new place was ready to move in. I was gone the next day. It is okay if you are just done. I am a couples therapist and quite frankly, it took years for the relationship to get into bad shape, where it has been for an extended period of time. Significant and meaningful change in couples therapy takes at least 6 months, and often much longer than that. You are just starting out, one session, which means that 99% of the time the old behaviors are still going to be the main thing that happens. 12 weeks, IMO, is an extremely optimistic forecast for meaningful change. It is, as I noted, unreasonable to expect things to be great after one session and then throw in the towel immediately when they are not. My drinking almost caused my divorce. I told my wife I would never drink again, stopped cold turkey. I made her my #1 priority. I picked up hobbies in grilling and cooking. I vacuum. I'm whipped, don't care, I'm a family man. My wife is happy, I'm happy, best decision I made. All of this sounds like things to discuss in said 12 weeks of therapy. It's okay that your mind didn't immediately change after one therapy session, and it's reasonable honestly that your relationship didn't change after one session either. Session 2 should probably discuss how things went since the first session and what reasonable expectations of progress are for both of your ends. I mean, based on this, he does come off as a truly selfish person who doesn't care about his partner. Your marriage counselor wants your money, you have no obligation to commit to 12 weeks if you don't want to. It sounds like he love bombing you into thinking he would actually change, and after literally one session he's over it and can't be bothered. Doesn't sound like a great marriage, and it sounds like you both have one foot out the door already. If he wanted to he would, and he clearly doesn't want to support you in any way, couldn't even be bothered to babysit his own kid so you could study? How embarrassing for him. I hope you find peace, whatever that looks like to you. Next story 2. My fiancé is sad that I am disappointed about our upcoming wedding. I am getting married to my fiancé M on November 9th of this year, which will be 2 years exactly of us being together. At first, M and I were over the moon about being engaged and just getting ready for the start of a new chapter. Originally, we had it in our minds that we would have a bunch of friends and family there for our wedding. However, after doing the math, we realized that we are too broke to even invite our closest friends and even some of our closest relatives. I have to start paying off student loans in 6 months and he has to finish up his bachelor's next year. Therefore, while we are not paying off debt, we decided to have a very small backyard wedding with only the pastor, photographer, and immediate family. It's not the small wedding that I am disappointed about. It's the fact that most of the people that I really care about, besides my fiancé, will not even get to be there. The person who was supposed to walk me down the aisle, my father figure, won't even be able to make it to the wedding because he'll be out of town. I already lost my dad to COVID back in 2020 and feel like I was robbed of having that special father-daughter moment with him. Now, I feel like I am losing it all over again. M is my best friend and has been so supportive of me while I have been bawling my eyes out. However, he feels like it's his fault and is sad that I'm not having the wedding that I dreamed of. I try to keep telling him that it's not his fault and that life is just sucky at times. Sometimes I don't feel like a bride and I get really discouraged, but I don't want to keep making M feel sad. How can I not feel so disappointed about the wedding and try to at least help M see that it's not his fault? Comment. Why can't your friends show up to your backyard wedding? Throw some burgers and hot dogs, or whatever, on the grill and have a barbecue. Ask them to make it a potluck if you can't afford all the sides. If any of my friends did this, I would have loved it. Or go to City Hall and get married, 2 witnesses each, your mom and your father figure, and your partner's parents, and have your party with everyone later when you can afford it. Who says it has to be done the traditional way? Edit. I would also like to say that I truly do admire that you recognize that you cannot and should not afford a bigger ceremony. Paying off debt is way more important. I second this. It's a backyard, I don't understand why your friends can't come. And also, if your father figure is out of town, why not postpone for a week, or do it a week earlier, when he's back in town? I admire the living within your budget, and I totally understand that you don't want to wait years to get married. What I don't understand is why you can't just think outside the box a little and have the people you care about present without it costing you anything other than possible small date change, to accommodate father figure, and maybe a sheet cake and a few packs of hot dogs, which aren't even necessary if you make it a potluck, but the cake would be a nice gesture. I'm assuming she means her friends can't come because of timing. If she means because of cost, that makes 0 sense, just have a potluck. Honestly, this is probably the best advice that you're going to get. And you should 100% take it. You're choosing to do this in your backyard with 5 people, you're choosing the date that you do it, you're making these decisions. You can unmake these decisions. Honestly, there's still time and you can change everything about your wedding. Honestly, this is probably the best advice that you're going to get. And you should 100% take it. You're choosing to do this in your backyard with 5 people, you're choosing the date that you do it, you're making these decisions. You can unmake these decisions. Honestly, there's still time and you can change everything about your wedding. So postpone? Would it kill you to get married in a year or 2 instead? Plenty of people you actually spend some time saving for a wedding they want instead of settling for mediocrity if it's not what you want to the point you're bawling your eyes out. Or just sign the papers and have the ceremony later. My husband and I are married on paper, but our actual ceremony is a year out because we're saving for the wedding we want but needed to be married for insurance purposes. I just don't understand why weddings have to cost so much. If the most important thing to you is having your closest friends and family there, skip all the fancy stuff. Get party platters of food like subs and fruit/veggie platters. Skip all the unnecessary flowers and decor. I just find it so wasteful. I don't know if this helps at all, but my partner and I were together for 7 years before he proposed this year, and we're still waiting until 2025 to have a wedding. At 23 we did not have the money to get married like we wanted. It's totally fine to wait and save. You don't have to go into debt to get married, and you can use the time to set aside funds to have the exact wedding you want. No one is going to think anything of you pushing the date, especially when it's so you can have all your loved ones there.